Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia, they're going to march into Austin. Are they going to get the win? Yeah. Happy Halloween.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Happy Halloween. Happy Friday. Thanks for making us part of your day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On this episode, we get you ready for the weekend. We're going to talk SEC picks. I'm going to make my picks from around the conference, so let you know what other games to bet on via FanDuel. I'm going to make a prediction on this game. Vandy is underdogs, 2.5-point underdogs. So we're going to make a prediction there. Going to give you the keys to make that victory happen. But the most important thing is, like, what if Vanderbilt wins? What does that mean for the program? What does that mean for the season? What does that mean just in general? We're going to talk about all of that coming up. But first, this episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. So stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. So I want to talk about the impact of this game, because this is a very, very important game for Vanderbilt. And this is a game where there's a lot. I mean, every game right now has a lot of implications on it, the obvious implications. And that's very exciting for Vanderbilt to be on the cusp of the month of November and still be playing extremely meaningful football. Not just, hey, we hope to get in bowl contention football. It's, hey, we're in legitimate college football playoff conversations. We're sitting at 7-1 with a legitimate chance to walk out of Texas with a victory. It'll be a difficult one, but there's a legitimate chance there. And then you have a great chance in your next two. And you have a really good chance at legitimately looking at worst case scenario 7-2. Like, that's really on the table for Vanderbilt, and playing in Knoxville for a playoff spot. Like, think about the implications of all of that that's riding on this game. So what does this game mean? A win over Texas obviously would have the obvious effect of Vandy improving to 8-1, one step closer to college football playoff, and one step for Diego Pavia to be in New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation. So the Vanderbilt Commodores could be in a playoff discussion. Tom Luginbill came out with a bracket. He has them traveling to take on the Ole Miss Rebels at this moment. A win against the Texas Longhorns would go a long way in, obviously, the most obvious is you put them further into contention. You knock Texas out of contention, essentially. Three losses isn't going to get them in the playoff. But like, just think of the impact of the battle tested, the road environment. You go into DKR, you go into Austin, you win that game, right? And the real impact will come in NIL recruiting. Vandy's already flipped one commit, is on the verge for some more. There's a Miami commit, Brian Stewart, who's on the fence. He's still committed to Miami. There's still a good chance he goes to Miami, but Vandy's really making a strong push for him. So that'll be, all of those things when you look at it, when you size it up, it means a lot to this program. And it's a program that obviously has, and I'm not saying anything that people already don't know. So before you jump all over me saying, "Oh yeah, it's Vandy," yeah. Of course, they've been, since the 1920s, they've been struggling as a program, right? And up until 2023, there was a 10-year run of like really bad ineptitude. But right now, Clark Lea's figured some things out. He's overhauled the program. He's overhauled the operation and what they do. And they're in a really good spot to not only build a winning season and a possibly college football playoff appearance season, he has a chance to have some legitimate staying power with this whole thing. He has a legitimate chance of building some sort of sustainable program that competes every year, not necessarily going 11-1 every year, but one that's in the conversation way more than it ever was. And a lot of that is the foundation that's being built. Yes, Diego Pavia is going to leave. Yes, they're going to lose a lot of people. But Vanderbilt is starting to realize, and with every win, the administration is just that much more revelated to the fact that, hey, we've got a ton of money at Vanderbilt. Like, there's endless amounts of money that people don't know about because Vandy's been too arrogant to spend it on football. There's a lot of things out there that they can say, hey, let's throw this towards NIL. We can actually make this university even more desirable, and we can make Nashville a fun destination. Let's go get some players. Here, Clark, do what you need to do. We got your back. If you go into Texas and prove that you can win, what's going to happen when you get a loaded roster with this crew, with this coaching staff? What's going to happen when you build better in the portal with this coaching staff? And that's what the impact is in NIL and recruiting. Just think about being able to sell recruits. Hey, you're going to get an elite degree, and that's always going to be true. But imagine selling recruits to, hey, you're going to play some legitimate football. Like, you're not coming to Vanderbilt just to get some SEC film. That might have been a pitch or two here and there for some guys. Like, hey, come to the SEC. Like, you'll get some SEC film. Like, we're in a good enough spot to where we can be competitive enough to where NFL scouts will take you seriously. But this might be a real thing. And you go into Texas, and if you beat Texas, like I'm predicting they're going to, no shock there, they can prove that, hey, we can actually, in this NIL era, we can actually get up there in the big boys club because they've got money to spend. It's not a poor university. They just don't ever invest in foot or in athletics, much less football. The only real investment they had over the last, I don't know how many years, they invested a little bit in baseball, and I think they were very fortunate to hire Tim Corbin. And even that, like, I don't know that was like some major investment. I think they hit on the right hire. They won a couple national championships in baseball. Like, once they figure out that, hey, this money is going to triple if we invested into football, if we invested into basketball, if we invest further into baseball, and we can support some of our other sports like women's basketball, like tennis, women's soccer, volleyball, who just finally came back to SEC play after I think a 45-year hiatus. They came back to SEC play, or there was some sort of, I can't remember the exact stat, but there was some stat where they got their first SEC win in like 45 years. And it was very jarring, but it's because they didn't play volleyball for a long time. So like that kind of thing, like, can impact the program tremendously. You go down there and you get a win in that environment. It proves legitimacy. It proves that you have a program that is capable of winning big time games. And this is a big time game. You're 7-1. You got college football playoff hopes on the line. Diego Pavia still has Heisman hopes out there. It's a big game with big stakes for Texas. Their playoff life is hanging in the balance. They have to be flawless down the stretch. They can't have any more blemishes. They can't have any more losses the rest of the way. So there's a lot of stakes on both sides. And now you have a chance, because their quarterback situation is uncertain because Arch Manning got knocked out last week. You don't know if he's going to play. You probably, for safety's sakes, hope he doesn't. Like, I hope he doesn't play just for the sake of, like, that dude took a shot and he was out. That's concussions. I've had some myself. I know what those are like. I don't know that Texas wants to trot out Arch Manning, even if he's fine, even if he passes. He's still got to get clear about doctor. I don't think he's going to play. So it's going to be it's going to be the Matthew Caldwell show. So, but it's just, with the obvious factors, you go to 8-1, you're closer to the playoff, and you get two favorable matchups with Auburn, who's been a mess. They're improving with Ashton Daniels, but they're still pretty much a mess. And then you got Kentucky, who they're scrappy. Cutter Boley is putting some good film out there. He's possibly going to get in the portal next year, but that team is just they're just not very good. And then you get Tennessee, or you get a bye, and then you get a bye after Auburn. Then you get Kentucky and Tennessee. So you have 2 more games that you have to win before you get a rest, and then you get Kentucky and Tennessee to finish the season. So it's going to be interesting coming down the stretch, and this is some really good football. Like the depth that this Vanderbilt team has, they can showcase, hey, we can compete with the big boys. We can hang in these big time games. And I don't even think necessarily they have to win to show that. I think is they go in there, they make it a tough game, they compete. And I'm not into moral victories, but like I think when you're trying to prove yourself as a commodity in this league, I think there's a lot of different ways you can do that. I think a win obviously would be the exclamation point, but I still think you can make a statement if you go in there and play a tough game, tight game, and just go toe to toe and trade punches with, make Texas beat you, not go in there and lose the game, but make Texas beat you. There's a difference there. I know it's semantics, but there's a difference in how those two things are done. So, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. Lots on the line. And for us to be at Halloween and talking about a Vandy game with a lot on the line is a very, very, very special thing. And not like bowl game stuff, like playoff, Heisman, things like that are on the line. That's a great place to be as a program. And how are they going to do it? How is Vanderbilt going to do it? We're going to talk about the keys to Vanderbilt going into Austin and getting a win. We're going to talk about that next. First, I want to talk Mazda. This episode is brought to you by Mazda, moving the game forward. For those who believe it, it's not just about the game. It's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and they keep moving the game forward. And that's where Mazda comes into play. This week's moment that moved the game forward, CJ Hurd basically taking the handoff at Missouri. He sets Vandy up for a victory. He sets Vandy up for a go-ahead game-winning touchdown. Just times his blitz up perfectly. Gotta have it. The game is starting to go into Missouri's favor. Missouri is taking control of the game. CJ Hurd takes the game right back by taking the handoff. So he is the Mazda's moving the game forward. Highlight this week. And honestly, when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. If you need a second listen, Locked On SEC is the place to go. If you want to go outside the network, my weekly guest, Mike Huseman, Off Season After Dark, you should really check him out. It's honestly a treat. So, but like I said, it'll be November 1st when this game kicks off. Halloween. Hope you guys enjoy your trick or treating. By the way, my favorite candy is Sour Patch Kids. That is my all-time favorite candy. I love Sour Patch Kids. If we're looking at chocolate, so that's my favorite non-chocolate candy. That would probably be the top of the hierarchy just in general. But if we're looking at top chocolate, I probably attack a Twix bar more than any other candy bar. Like if I'm going chocolate, I would go Twix, then I would go Butterfinger, Snickers, Kit Kat as my top 4 in the chocolate category. Top 4 non-chocolate would be Sour Patch, Skittles, those Trolley gummy worms. Those are outstanding, by the way. And then Airheads. Freaking love Airheads, dude. Those are amazing. And then I really prefer non-chocolate candy, but when it comes to the keys to the game, right? How's Vandy going to all these implications? How are they going to get to 8-1? It's attainable. It really is. It's attainable. There's a lot on the line. There's a lot of ways. There's a lot of avenues that they can win. Here's how it looks. All right, for the offense, honestly, Texas is the third best run defense in the country. Running's going to be tough, but patience will pay off. You have to find something in the passing game. You have to find something in the passing game. So offense has got to, I think against Missouri, the game plan was really good. Even though they were running into a brick wall a lot, it was very good because they were patient. They made plays when they had to have them. They picked their spots. They knew it was going to be a defensive battle. I don't know that they can necessarily go in it with this mentality this week because Texas offense is probably I think Texas offense talent-wise is better than Missouri. I think operation-wise, it's kind of a wash. I think Missouri's offense is better, just like operation-wise. In the Alabama game, for my super fan, I'm going to acknowledge the Alabama game. Alabama took Vanderbilt, also took out Vanderbilt out of what they wanted to do. Vanderbilt panicked and played right into that. Diego Pavia played hero ball, and they lost. Diego Pavia stayed poised. They stayed within their game plan against Missouri. Missouri took them out of what they wanted to do. They didn't really get out of it. They stayed patient, and they won. Defense made a couple plays. Defense put them in some good positions. They capitalized on the very few opportunities they did get, and they won the game. So in order to beat Texas, in order to beat a stingy defense like Texas, that's what you have to do. Patience is going to pay off. You run. You're setting it up, right? And if you can have time of possession, like Mississippi State was on the field, I think it was 86 plays or something, 82 plays in regulation. Texas, that's a lot of plays for a defense to be out there. And if you can sustain that type of thing, like if Vanderbilt can somehow get to 82 plays, which it's a lot of plays. I don't know that Vanderbilt's offense is built like that, but if they can somehow get to a number that's comparable for Vanderbilt in that regard, meaning they have the ball for 35 minutes and they're running plays, they have a chance to wear down this defense because this is a very physical offensive line and they can wear down on you. And if they're out there a lot, they can wear down on you. If they're not, they won't. This is very simple. Time of possession is the absolute key stat for this matchup. Time of possession, and I know it seems obvious, but it is the key stat in this game. All right, defensively, regardless of who plays quarterback, you need to force them to be one-dimensional. If it's Arch Manning, you got to confuse him. Again, you've got to get pressure in on him. You've got to get him on the ground a few times. You've got to get him running. If he somehow plays, I don't think he's going to be right mentally. I think there's going to be something that's going to be off about him. Concussions are it's no joke, and there's something that lingers. Even though even though you make clear and a doctor clears you and you're completely safe, there's like any injury. A head injury is no different. You have a little bit of a period of time to where you're just unsure. You're just slow on the draw. And Arch has already been slow on the draw a little bit. So if he plays, you got to take advantage of that. If it's Matthew Caldwell, you got to take advantage of the fact that, yeah, he's been at 4 universities, but he doesn't have a whole lot of SEC experience. He hasn't seen defenses like this a lot. He saw Mississippi State's defense for like a play or two, like for a couple plays. That's it. He's also gotten some sporadic action. I mean, he's talented. Don't get me wrong. And Sark is a really good play caller, and Sark is really good at finding ways to get his quarterback comfortable. Unfortunately for Arch Manning, he hasn't found that just yet with Arch Manning. But if he somehow finds it with Matthew Caldwell, holy cow, that's going to be crazy. But for Texas, they have to get Wisner and CJ Baxter going. For Vanderbilt's defense, they cannot let that happen, right? Because those two guys can wreck your game plan. And they're good enough to wreck your game plan. They haven't been good enough by the numbers, but talent-wise, they are. They're by the numbers, they're underachieving. And when I say underachieving, they should be achieving higher based on their talent level, but they're not doing it because they cannot run the ball as a unit. Like their offensive line is just not, they're just struggling, right? Doesn't mean they don't develop, doesn't mean Sark hasn't had success with running backs before. I mean, B.J. Allen Robinson, he's got success with those guys. Like Jaden Blue, I'm not going to name them all, but you know who I'm talking about. He's obviously, Sark has had a lot of talent. He's been a great play caller. He's been a great developer of offensive talent. For some reason, it's just not right now. For some reason, this offense is just kind of an enigma at this moment. If this season, if this juncture, and Vanderbilt has to capitalize on that. They have to capitalize on the fact that this offense really hasn't found its true identity yet. And that's got to be the key. Cannot let CJ Baxter and Trey Wisner get going. All right. Now, the third thing is usually kind of a general game key. I got one key for the offense, one key for the defense, and one just game key. It's a very tough road environment, so managing the emotions early and making sure the crowd is out of it is probably the key. And this is an obvious one. You know, anytime you go into a road environment, that is the truth. But for Vanderbilt, I think in the Alabama game, I think they did pretty good early managing it. Like in the first quarter, like the crowd was kind of in a frenzy, and they did a good job of essentially taking the crowd out of it. And they were very close. They were very, very close to making that crowd pretty restless, actually. There was a red zone turnover where if they convert that to points, they go up by 2 scores, right? If he doesn't fumble that, they kick a field goal, they go up 10, given that he makes it, which that was a chip shot for Brock Taylor. He's going to make that more times than not. So just think about what happens in that scenario where the fans were already kind of on Kalen DeBoer in that moment. I don't think they are now, but in that moment they were. There was a lot of fans that still were like, Kalen DeBoer, we don't know about him. Like he, obviously a big win against Georgia, hooray, but now you got to do it on a consistent basis. Like we still don't really trust you. And then he goes out and he shuts down Vanderbilt and he beats Vanderbilt. And then he goes on the run that he's on. And Alabama fans are obviously back, on board fully with the Kalen DeBoer train, and they should be, and they should have been from the start. He's a great coach. I think Sark is the same way. I think Sark, well, the fans aren't on Sark. I don't want to say that, but I think there's a weird vibe right now at Texas because it's like they won 2 games they should have lost. They found a way to win. And granted, Vanderbilt won the Missouri game that they probably at a certain point should have lost, but they earned their way through it. And Texas earned their way to the Mississippi State win. I'm not gonna give them Kentucky. They should have blown them out. They took them to overtime. Kentucky lost that game. I think Texas won the Mississippi State game. Kentucky lost that game. Texas is in a spot where they just can't seem to it's just this like tap dance of like, oh, we do something really good, then we take a couple steps back, we take a couple steps forward, and they're just kind of in that neutral position. And right now, they have taken 2 steps forward. They come back home. Can Vanderbilt do what they did in Williams-Brice, do what they did at Lane Stadium in Virginia Tech? Can they do what they do? They stay within themselves. They don't beat themselves very much. Can they stay within themselves? Can they manage these emotions? Can they compete on the field, not let the crowd into it? I think the problem was against Alabama, Diego Pavia fumbled, the crowd got into it, and then they just unraveled from there. If they can prevent that from happening, they have a really good chance. If they can keep the crowd out of it, a disinterested crowd, they're not necessarily going to get on Sark, but there's going to be some grumbling like, oh gosh, we're losing to Vanderbilt. And maybe, the crazies will come out and say, fire Sark. But, I think the reasonable people won't. They shouldn't. Sark is a great coach. But for Vanderbilt, they got to manage that environment. They got to do. So what's my prediction? What are my picks for week 10? We'll get to all of that next. First, I want to talk about DoorDash. Who delivered? That's right. Who delivered? So it's almost the weekend. It's Halloween. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streak, saving you more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Vanderbilt, just like Mazda, I'm going to choose C.J. Hurd. He delivered in a big way. He was solid all night in the run game. He did get a pass interference penalty, but we're not going to talk about that. He had the play of the game where Missouri's getting ready. They're marching down the field. They have the game is in almost full grasp of their control. C.J. Hurd blitzes off the edge, takes the handoff, gives the ball back to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt takes it down and scores. They go up 17-10. That would be your final score. Man, the pressure was on. C.J. Hurd delivered and came through with no hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance was on the fluke. C.J. Hurd is definitely on a streak. And just like C.J. Hurd delivered for Vanderbilt, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250 including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period good through November 18th. And lastly, I want to talk about FanDuel for a second, right? There's a lot of action out there. Man, the NBA season is kicked off. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who scores next in the fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can combine live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when you're making that late push. Now, speaking of this line, this is a perfect place for this. These are my SEC picks for Week 10. Ole Miss minus 13.5, Georgia minus 7.5, Tennessee minus 3.5. I like three favorites. Ole Miss is going to shellac South Carolina. Georgia is going to be too much for Florida. I think they do win by 10. And Tennessee, this is sacrilegious. I know I'm going to get hammered for this one, but I do think they beat Oklahoma. I do think they're just going to overwhelm them offensively, and Oklahoma's just not going to be able to keep up, even though Mateer's going to have a better game. So, FanDuel. Yes, you should go on FanDuel. If you want to play those picks, you can. But right now, FanDuel's giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Go Hawks. Thanks for making us part of your list. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Locked on Vandy on all social media platforms. Make sure you like and subscribe. I gave you my FanDuel picks. I know that I'm quickly running out of time, so I wanted to give them to you just then. Those were my picks, but here's my prediction. Vandy, 2.5-point favorites at Texas, over under 45. I'm going to take the under with a backup quarterback and Vanderbilt's identity. I think it's going to be a 40-point game at most. I think Vanderbilt's going to cover this 2.5 points. I think they win by 4. I think they double it. And I think I think in the fourth quarter, there's going to be a play that's made against Texas, and they're going to come out victorious. So I'm taking the under as well. I might even just stay away from the spread altogether from a betting perspective and take the under. But as far as a pure pick, I'm going to take Vanderbilt to win this game because like I said, I think there's too many question marks offensively with the quarterback position. Matthew Caldwell is good, but like, what do they do? Do they have, what is their plan? Like, what, is he going to be the guy? He very well could be, but I just think there's just too much uncertainty there. And anytime you roll in with a backup quarterback, it's always a mystery as to what you're going to get. And because of that, I think it favors the veteran. I think it favors a veteran defense that's going to confuse him. And I think they're going to do just enough to come out of this thing 8-1. So with that said, if you're trick-or-treating later on, please be careful. Get plenty of candy. Be safe, most importantly. If you're flying out to Austin, if you're going to this game, be safe, have fun, enjoy. Austin's a great city. I've been before. It is a great city, great time. So make sure you have fun And Texas fans are great people. I have some Longhorns in my family, so good luck, except for this week to them. And with that being said, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. Like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. And we'll see you back here next time. We'll have a live reaction after the show. I'll announce the time when it comes time to that. And I'll see you then. But until then, anchor down. Peace.